an 11-year-old boy vanished in the mountains. For 4 days, he hid from the very people trying to save him. June 2005. Brennan Hawkins, 11 years old, arrived at a Boy Scout camp high in Utah's Uinta Mountains. It was a week of climbing walls, campfires, and pine forests. The kind of trip a kid never forgets. On the second afternoon, Brennan finished at the climbing wall and started back toward his campsite alone. It was a short walk. Somewhere along it, the boy took a wrong turn into the trees. The Uintas are a maze of dense forest, steep ridges and rivers stretching for miles in every direction. By dinner time, Brennan hadn't returned. The camp leaders realized no one knew where he was. They searched the camp, then the trails, then the woods. The boy was simply gone. Night fell fast in the high country, and the temperature dropped toward freezing. Brennan was somewhere out there, alone, in shorts and a t-shirt, with no food, no water, and no jacket. Word went out, and Utah responded. Volunteers began pouring toward the mountain. By the next day, the search had swelled into the thousands, one of the largest in the state's history. On foot, on horseback, on ATVs, and from helicopters, they combed the endless wilderness. Search dogs worked the ridges. Divers checked the rivers. And still, there was no sign of the boy. Days passed. Hope began to strain against the cold math of a child alone in the mountains. What no one understood yet was that Brennan was alive, and he was avoiding them. Like many kids, Brennan had been taught one simple rule: don't talk to strangers. So every time he heard an engine or saw a searcher on the trail, he did exactly as he'd been told. He stepped off the path. He hid in the trees. He let his rescuers pass him by. The very lesson meant to keep him safe was now keeping him lost. Alone, he kept moving, following the water downstream the way lost hikers so often do. He drank from the river. He shivered through freezing nights with no shelter and no fire. Each day he drifted further from camp, nearly 5 miles into the backcountry. His parents waited at the mountain's edge, holding on to a hope that thinned with every hour. By the 4th day, searchers had covered an enormous area and found nothing. The odds for a young boy, exposed and starving for that long, were turning grim. Then, on that 4th morning, a searcher named Forrest Nunley rode his ATV up a remote trail. Miles from camp, far outside the area anyone expected, he saw something small moving ahead. It was a boy, thin, sunburned, exhausted, walking along the trail. It was Brennan. After 4 days, the lost scout had finally been found alive. This time, when a stranger approached, the exhausted boy didn't run. He let himself be found. He was dehydrated and cold and had lost weight, but he was awake, and he was alive. They wrapped him up and carried him down the mountain, back toward his waiting family. When the news reached the search camp, thousands of strangers wept for a boy they'd never met. Brennan survived 4 days and 4 freezing nights, alone, on almost nothing. He'd walked miles through rugged country that defeats grown, experienced hikers. And he'd done it while unknowingly hiding from the only people who could save him. His story changed how a generation of parents taught their children about being lost. The new lesson was simple. If you're lost, a stranger calling your name is a friend. One wrong turn, 4 days in the cold, and a boy who was found because he finally stopped hiding. If this one stayed with you, do me a favor. Hit that like button and subscribe to the Backcountry Files so the next case finds you. Because out here, the wilderness always keeps score.